Holy beard of Zeus. It is UMG Dallas this weekend. You know what that means? That means the dynamic duo is finally stepping foot onto a Call of Duty tournament. And by the dynamic duo, I mean myself and Maven. I hope you guys are prepared for the awesomeness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gandhi Thoughts, brought to you by My Nutrition. I am Gandhi, and today we're going to be doing a G2 recap. Now, before I get into the video, I want to give a humongous shout out to the guys of Esports Nation for providing awesome coverage of the event. Sure, they made a lot of tweets and they clogged up everyone's timeline, but you know what? I appreciate it because I did not see that 5 a.m. match, and there was no way I was going to. It's Saturday, and I said, do I want to sleep in? Yeah. So I apologize. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here is Gfinity's format. I am a humongous fan of the pool play. And the reason why I like it is just because there's so many stories you can paint. There's always at least like one just insanely awesome pool that a lot of people are like, oh my god, I don't know who's going to advance out of that. And for G2, it was basically alpha. Now, take a look here. If you're looking at this graphic, by the way, Esports Nation, thanks for this graphic. I completely stole it from you. If you take a look, the top two are going to be the teams who actually advance into day 2, and the bottom two are going to be the ones who are knocked out and don't make it to Championship Sunday. So look, go ahead, and I'll give you a second, and look at the bottom two, and tell me what the biggest story here is. Oh, wow, you have a brain? Yes, Optic Gaming did not make it to day 2. Now, for a lot of people, everyone's like, oh, well, why is that upset? Well, what do you... I hate those people. What do you mean, how is it not an upset? Optic Gaming was crushing every single team online, and they were looking amazing. They're looking so good online. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, they run the Scorpion and the AN online, and that shit doesn't work on LAN. Newsflash, everyone in Europe used the Scorpion at G2, and it shredded people. Now, don't get me wrong. The Scorpion makes me want to castrate myself, but hey, if it works, it works. I understand. So, Optic Gaming loses to Infused early on Saturday, and everyone's like, holy shit. And I believe the score was a 3-1. Now, I didn't watch that matchup, but I did, however, watch Nadeshot and Scumpy give an interview where they talked about it. And Nadeshot was kind of just like, the score doesn't really tell everything. On the hard point, we missed a really, really bad rotation. And he kind of like... and he was like, we kind of missed a bad rotation. And the coughing was kind of like, I guess it was a choke because they weren't, I guess they were up in the game. But so they missed the rotation and ended up costing them the game. That stuff's going to happen. Now, they did beat Ozone Giants, but they did get 3-0'd by TK, which I think everyone kind of saw coming. But at the same time, it was like, wow, that's crazy to me. Now, I think Optic had just one of those events where it just wasn't good. And I know as soon as I say that statement, everyone's like, oh, you Optic fanboy, you're a douchebag. And I'm like, no, man, I just don't have a bias towards any team here. Like, sure, I like the guys of Envyus. Sure, I like Hex a lot. He's a good dude. We party and we drink some beers together. Sure, I like Complexity. But, like, it's not like it's going to be like, oh, it's either this or die. I don't care. I'm going to call it how I see it. And the thing that I found to be absolutely hysterical from this weekend was all the hate that I saw in the chat for Nadeshot. And I was sitting there and I was like, now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to act like I'm a guru of Black Ops 2. I've been in this scene now. I've been following the scene, I guess I should say. I followed the scene kind of like the whole time, but I paid attention to events like very, very religiously for the past 2 months. And to me, I think Nadeshot probably had one of his best individual performances ever. Now, I have no idea what he's done in his Call of Duty career. But for Black Ops 2, I just remember, a lot of people giving him shit. And it was all about Scumpy. Well, this event was all about Nadeshot. Nadeshot played amazing. So, Nades, salute, buddy. Don't let him get to you. It's just how it works. If you're kicking ass and you're doing well, normally people are going to say, well, you suck. You should be dropped. It's just how it is. So, Optic did not make it to Sunday, and I would have loved to see them personally go there because online they were just Johnny Crushers, right? They were just crushing everyone. They were melting people. It was awesome. But to me, that is not the biggest upset. Oh yeah, that is not the biggest upset. You know what the biggest upset of the weekend was? I'll tell you right now. It was Envyus taking on Unite Gaming. Now, boys and girls, I don't know if you guys paid any attention to the online scrims, and I know online scrims only mean just about this much, but Envyus was not looking good going into G2. There was countless amount of arguments. Everyone was kind of like, holy shit, what's going on with them? Are they washed up? Can Rambo hang? All the normal stuff. Now, the first thing you have to realize is that online sucks. And as soon as you become established in a game, you can't, it's very hard to take online as serious as it is on LAN. One, there's more stuff on the line on LAN. And two, you're kind of in that comfort zone. You don't have any of the pressure. And when you're a veteran player, the pressure is what makes you excel. So, anyways, Envyus goes to take on Unite. They end up going up 2-1. It goes to hard point on Yemen. And Unite wins it. And as soon as I saw Yemen, I said, there's no chance that Envyus wins this game 4. And it's not anything against them. And it's not praising Unite. Obviously, I think Unite is probably the second best team at hardpoint with the exception, or behind Complexity. It's just, Envy is just this, they're just that far off from having good rotations. And they just missed those rotations. I saw that and I was like, oh man, this is going to game 5. And it sucks because I predicted Unite to win the entire thing. I was like, man, Unite has won so many 2000 series online, and again, it's online. But then on top of that, I thought them picking up Killa for Embos was a great pickup just because I think Killa is one of the smartest players in the game, and he crushes, dude. When you need Killa to step up, he steps up. So I was sitting there and I said, oh man, it's going to S&D. Meltdown, this isn't good. Well, it starts off and it's back and forth like you would expect. And I forget what round it is, but this is the thing that everyone is going to be talking about from G2, and that is going to be Karma's 3v1 ninja disarm. So Karma's the last guy alive. They're planning it over at A. Karma sneaks up behind this guy. He's like whispering in his ear, and I'm sitting there the whole time, and I'm like, knife him. Fuck it. You know what? You're screwed. It's a 3-on-1. You might as well take it, right? Hit him with the knife. There's no chance you have that you'll ninja disarm this. Well, guy finishes arming. He runs away. Karma jumps down, gets his eagle on, starts spinning in circles, and ninja disarms it. Right there, that is a momentum killer. That was a 3-on-1 clutch that Karma ended up getting. And it goes straight into Unite's head. And I believe Envyus ends up taking it 6-4. Holy shit. Like, Unite. How do you lose when you have a 3-on-1? Like, you got to check the bomb site. And, you know, Parasite, I was talking to you. Or Chris, whatever you prefer me to call you. I don't care. I'm going to call you Parasite. And he was kind of just like, you know, we lost 2 3v1s. Like, we choked pretty bad. Now, despite the chokes, you know, I thought you guys looked okay. But, wow, Envy really... Whew, a big salute to the guys of Envy for really putting the naysayers to sleep, because the top 4 performance when you guys haven't broken the top 12 in the past couple events is huge. So a moment of silence for you, huh? For you haters out there. Now, after Envy beats Unite, everything else kind of goes basically according to plan. Envy ends up going up against Complexity, and as we all know about Complexity would have to try to lose to Envy, and it's nothing against Envy, it's just Complexity was looking damn good at G2. Aches comes out and he's super cocky. He equipped the dogs to his kill streaks, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's awesome, right? Like, I've known Aches for a very long time, and seeing him come out there, he's super cocky, but I think that's I wouldn't think it's one of his strengths. And I don't know if it's cockiness. I don't know how people view him. But for me, it's confidence. I just throw the term. Cocky and confidence are like interchangeable to me. I don't really give a shit. But if you throw on dogs, I guess we can throw that in the category of cocky. So, on the other side, TK ends up facing off against Epsilon in the semifinals. And I was sitting there, and it was funny because I was in a Skype call with all the guys from TK. You know, they have their own little subsection, and I was sitting there, and I was talking to them, and they're like, oh, man, we got this one in the bag. And I was sitting there, and I go, you know, Epsilon's kind of, like, I don't know much about the European scene. Like, keep in mind, I've just been kind of dialing this in for the past 2 months, but I was like, man, Epsilon looks solid. Like, Shane's kind of like an objective beast. And I know a lot of people are going to say, There's no objective role in Call of Duty, and I get it. Everyone has to do everything, but more times than not, he's around the objective. So, take that. Take it as you will. I'm going to basically say he is an objective player. So, I was sitting there and I go, what do you guys do if you lose to them? And they're like, oh man, there's no way we're going to lose to this team. Like, America doesn't lose. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'm a Patriot. I understand, but you guys aren't playing with Goonjar. You have Stainville as a replacement, and I know that, you guys got a lot of good practice going into the event, but I think Epsilon may take this. And then, okay. So sure enough, Epsilon comes out and they win the series and they advance to the finals, right? And so they now are going to be playing against Complexity, America's last hope. But really, the story of G2 isn't America's last hope. It's Europe's last hope is Epsilon. And let me tell you, this finals was freaking sweet. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Granted, the stream got DDoSed a couple of times, so it was tough to watch anyways. But I think this meme really summarizes what we all saw. The match between Complexity and Epsilon was awesome. So it starts off, and Epsilon goes up 2-0. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, how do you lose, America? Like, we're the best, right? Like, we are supposed to be the best. Well, sure enough, game number 3, Crim 6 comes out. Crimmy Poo, the Crimbot, the Terminator. I don't like the Terminator. I don't like Crimbot. I think Crimmy Poo is the best name. We started it, so I'm going to stick with it. Crim 6 comes out and drops like 38 kills in game 3. He kicks ass game 4, and then he just shines in game 5. Now, us at home, we couldn't really watch what happens in that game 5. I think it was a 6-1. All I know is the stream got knocked off when it was 3-1, so we couldn't watch game 5. By the way, to the DDoSer, like, I don't get your, like, the point of doing this. Like, you're supposed to be like a part of this community, but you're gonna knock off a tournament. Like, what gives, man? Like, and what's funny is I hope you fall underneath the same category of people that I've heard of. So in the past, right, when DDoSing first started off, everyone was just like, oh, there's this nerd who sits at his house by himself, like at the lunch table alone, blah blah blah. Well, there's actually the people who end up knocking people off are kind of like the peons. There's like a whole community. There's like this one overlord, and I picture him like the guy from the South Park episode of World of Warcraft, like the fat guy who's just like up and like eating Cheetos and just kind of hanging out. He ends up giving orders to people, and it's like, oh, you knock him off, good, you'll get a point, right? And you can kind of climb the ranks. So really, it's just this like pathetic society of tools. And I know that puts me in like the worst possible spot because they're like, oh, this guy's talking slander, let's knock him off. But I don't give a shit. So I just want to say you all suck ass. And if you're a part of that community, whoever knocks you off, I think you are a humongous tool. And I laugh at you. So take that. And that's the most publicity I am ever going to give you. So back to the match here. So we couldn't really see the finals because, it kept getting knocked off stream. But I think the thing that was awesome about it is that Crim 6 really stepped up when his team needed him. I think Complexity was kind of taken off guard at first by Epsilon, and then they were kind of like, whoa, hey, what the hell is going on? We need to pull it together. And I want to give a big shout out to Mr. X, their coach, the adhesive of the team. I remember I went to the camera shot after game 2, and he like kind of brought everyone in. He kind of gave like a big hug because he sits in the back. He brought them all in, and you couldn't hear him, but it was basically like, let's fucking go. Like, there is no reason, there's no time to fuck around anymore. We're winning this. So they get hyped, and their team, as everyone knows, the hype is real for them. Even though there's soundproof headphones for both competitors, both competitive teams, it doesn't matter. Just getting hyped, it's what works for them. And you know what? They won 3 in a row. And guess what? My man Crim 6 winning the Golden Goat Award. And it's not to take away anything from his team. It's just that MVP award really should be rewarded to the person who did the best when his team needed him to. And that's going to be Crim 6. So Crimmy, Crim Poo, we love you, buddy. But we don't love you. Now, taking away from this event, I think one of the biggest stories for me, and maybe it's because I came from Halo, but one of the biggest stories for me was that I think teams are finally starting to realize in Call of Duty that coach is actually important. Now, a lot of people don't give coaches the credit they deserve, but let me tell you, coaching makes a big difference. And like from Halo, right? Like there's not a single top team who doesn't have a coach. Now that's pretty crazy to wrap your mind around when you look at Call of Duty, where a lot of people don't necessarily take coaches into a factor. Well, look at Envy. They picked up Mud Dog, their new coach. They went from Hastro to having no one to now they picked up Mud Dog and they got top 4. That extra pair of eyes, that extra voice, especially if he knows the game, like Mr. X and Mud Dog. These two guys know the game to where they can say, hey, listen, rotate. Or, hey, pull the flag. We're choking spawns on Garage. They're going to be spawning Junkyard. Run it, right? Like, those little things really help because then the players don't have to really think. They just have to listen and react. And that's very, very big. And I think Optic is a team who's definitely going to benefit from a coach. I think not only for the hype or anything like that, I think just so they can stay calm, right? I think Optic, as soon as they have a coach saying, hey, listen, pull it this way, and they don't have to second guess themselves and they don't let the pressure get to them, it's just going to help them out. And who knows, maybe the hype is going to kick ass. Like, do you remember Anaheim, MLG Anaheim? Like, Scumpy was pumping up the crowd and everything like that. Like, I think the hype may work, so maybe get a coach who can hype them up, and that'll be pretty sick. Right, and it really helps just for a morale boost. It really, really does. And from a person who used basically the first coach in competitive FPS history, I think, at least on the MLG circuit, for me, as like a main slayer and everything like that, it just really helps to have someone in your ear go, hey man, it's okay. We're fine. There's nothing to worry about. We're still fine. Take it game by game. Right, and that's the one thing that Mr. X, it's funny because he sent me a DM, and I go, hey, man, I was like, hey, Matt, dude, what the hell happened versus that Epsilon matchup? And he goes, you know what? We were looking too far ahead. He goes, we were looking already at a 3-1 or a 3-0 on our side. We just let each game slip. As soon as game 2 ended, we sat down, I grabbed them all in, and I said, hey, take each game by game. Don't be looking at game 5. Don't be looking at game 4. We got to focus on game 3. Win game 3, we move on to game 4. We focus on game 4, then we go on to game 5. Right? And that is humongous, right? Because every player, it's very, very tough, especially when you're arguably the best team, to be down 2-0 and to not have your egos kind of get the best of you. The first thing you want to do is point blame. You're like, oh, fuck you. You did bad this game. Why did you make that rotation? Are you kidding me? Why would you push that, right? And those kind of things end up all factoring into this snowball of hell. And so with a coach, especially a level-headed coach, it's good to see that he's there. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, here is going to be the pool play graphic. Here are the people who advanced from pool play. And then last, but certainly not least, the finals, Complexity versus Epsilon. I have no idea how the rebroadcast works or if it's even going to work, since they got DDoS so many times. But definitely go back and watch this because it was one for the ages. Complexity came back facing adversity. They were down 2-0 and they won it for America. And for that, we salute you. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I love you, but I don't love you. Take it easy.